Yeah, everything about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're gonna find out his character and why we follow him, right? Now, as a student, my dunyawi studies, I've learned that the whole concept now, the whole push about mental illness is about a person becoming sick because they lack the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentally. When you think about stuff, this is a question. When there's a matter that you know you can't physically change, what do you do? Like it's something you can't change. Let's say it doesn't even matter because whatever's serious to you is how you view it. How would you as a Muslim, how do you view it? Like to Allah. You resort to Allah, right? When you say that, give me a little bit more understanding of what you're saying by that. Like as an Allah for the believe. Okay. So you trust that Allah is going to help you. What about you? Same thing. Bones. What about you? Same thing. What about you? Now, the strength of that relies on how strong you are. I'll give you an example. There's people who generally knows that Allah Ta'ala is going to take care of the matters for them. And then there's some people that specifically really knows that Allah is going to take care of matters for them. I'll give you an example. There's a hadith that Imam Nawawi mentions in the Riyadh al-Salihin, and I forgot where he drew it from, but he talks about in the section on reliance of Allah. And it talks about a man being reliant on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the point that if you lost your shoe strap, that you ask Allah Ta'ala to help you receive your shoe strap. That's specific, right? Someone in general, they're like, I ain't making dua for that. That's just too minor, right? That's too general to the point to you're almost like a restriction, you know, in your trust of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So imagine the kuffar. There's in Surah Al-Ahzab, there's tafsir behind this ayat being revealed. Well, anyway, basically what happened was the people in Medina, the Jews that they had a truce with in Medina, they collaborated with the non-Muslims from Mecca and to let them to basically backdoor them and let them in. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was caught off guard by this. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turned to Allah, made dua, and said, "Oh Allah, when will your help arrive?" Right? And Allah Ta'ala made the believers to be able to defeat these people who were plotting on them. But what happened amongst the Muslim community is like most people, when they see someone get backdoored, they're looking at whose strength, what side am I going to take? They weren't with the Prophet ﷺ, those who switched sides. They wasn't with him because their iman, they didn't have no iman. They were just like, look, I'm just going with the strength. And most of some of them were like, look, I'm only Muslim because the Muslims is here and they the dominant force right now. Like Abdullah ibn Ubay, he was known for playing, he was the king of the hypocrites, and he played both sides, right? So a lot of people play both sides. They're with Islam and they like the rhetoric that Islam teaches, but then they're also, eyeballing the other side and like, yo, if things don't go right over here, I'm gonna cross over, right? That says a lot about your character, right? But however, when you start to see that everybody's turning against you, right? Your back is against the wall. You don't have anyone else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can you imagine? Imagine what the mind of the kuffar does when things start going south for them. What do most non-Muslims or crooked Muslims do or say when they start losing their iman, when life hits them? What happens? What do they turn to? They turn to drugs. What else? Intoxicants. There's other things they turn to too. Haram actions. All right. What else? Something specifically I'm looking for. Many of them turn to kufr. They turn to disbelief. They'll start reading horoscopes. Stuff go bad. We joke about it. People say it in light. Most people believe that your zodiac sign dictates your character. They believe that, right? So they turn to that stuff. They're like, yo, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have came outside because my horoscope said that I was going to get hit by a truck in a sudden surprise. Now I'm in the hospital. Look at this. That is relying on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is kufr. Some people turn to magic. They might know somebody that's a magician that's working with the jinn and turn to them and ask them for help, right? Some people turn to their own nafs and begin to complain and deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Their mind goes crazy. So what happens at the onset of anxiety when a person is anxious, right? Is the person anxious about the past or they're anxious about the future? That's the question. Which one they're anxious about when you have anxiety? Huh? So the person of anxiety, what are they? Yeah, what are they like nervous and about the future, right? Because why? They don't have no control. They don't know what it's gonna bring, right? They don't have no control. Now I'm showing y'all how this plays, right? And Islam is that saving grace for anybody. It don't matter how big or how small that situation is. Islam controls and helps that particular illness that you have mentally. So anxiety, because the person is panicking, right? Now, when a person is panicking, they can start hyperventilating. They breathe heavy, right? And they get so excited, they pass out, right? Their heart begins to race to the point, pass out. They can go into cardiac arrest. Things of that nature. These things happen. This is real. And the same thing when you use cocaine, right? Cocaine is a speedball. Anybody use cocaine, they're like all over the place. Crackheads are always on the move. You know what a real crackhead is? I ain't talking about dope fiends that y'all call crackheads now. I'm talking about crackheads who smoke crack. They hit that joint, they running. They can come out carrying a car engine on their shoulder. Once that crack start wearing down, you find them in a depressed state, turning over everything. How can I get more money? That is the state of a person without guidance, right? A person that's depressed. What do you think that they're mentally being challenged about? That if the anxious person or the person with anxiety is, you know, going crazy over the future, what is the depressed person going crazy over? Past. The past or something they can't have, right? You see what I'm saying? These type of things, this happens. So when you say, I know that Allah Ta'ala is in control of things, you find that medium where you still continue your everyday life and you turn to Allah Ta'ala and you're making dua and you know for certainty that Allah will help you. When, where, how is not your concern, right? You can't force Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't put restrictions on Allah. You just do what you got to do. That brings about a peace of mind, right? So you learn this stuff. You learn this, right? And you understand that, right? Ayats were revealed when the believers got in trouble. So how we know how to address things? Because of what is now called tafsir, the explanation and the sabab and nuzul, the reason of why this ayat was revealed and so on and so forth. And we find that and we make reference back to the incident that we know of. And this is why knowledge is important. The person that doesn't seek knowledge, Islamic knowledge, or doesn't have no Islamic knowledge, they have a mind that is in total, utter chaos. Because half of their mind works like the kuffar and the other half of their mind works like a Muslim. And it causes what? Bipolar, right? Where half they're manic, right? Sporadic, And after that, that sporadicity and all that stuff goes over, they're back to press again. They never find anything, any balance. Right? So this is why knowledge is so important. Not so you can be in the cool club. Or everybody be like, yo, you cool, right? You studying? Yeah, I'm studying. Yeah, that's right, man. Cause we gotta get away from a little bit and the Wahhabis and all these other niggas, right? No, you're studying so that you understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So that you make the prayer. You know the consequences if you leave salat. You know the consequences if you not consequent, but you know what to do if you break wudu and you're praying instead of standing there and continuing to pray. Do you know that praying a prayer without wudu, without tahara, right, is considered disbelief according to some of the ulama of the Maliki school? It's considered an act to deliberately pray without wudu. And I'm not talking about you in a destitute land with no water, no earth to make tayammum. I'm talking about a person that's just too lazy to get up and make wudu or ghusl, and they just get up and pray and say, yo, I can pray like this. That's kufr. That makes you a non-Muslim. Now think about that. That's serious. You're doing a Muslim action, but you're not your inner being, your reality, you're not Muslim. So that's the reality and how serious it is to have knowledge. Not so you'll be in the cool club, right? Not so you'll be in a cool club, but so that you practice your deen properly. Because that's all the Sahabas was concerned about. And that's all the Prophet ﷺ was concerned about conveying. So now we'll get to our class. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رضي الله تعالى عنه وسادة التابعين وعلماء عاملين وأئمة أربعة مجتهدين ومقلدين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Now, the adab of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was the most generous of people, and he was more generous than he was during the month of Ramadan. Because everything that you do during the month of Ramadan, it doubles the actions. Y'all pay attention? Everything that you do during the month of Ramadan, it doubles. Right? Now, I want to give you guys a little understanding where I'm coming from. Most people don't give sadaqah. And the reason why they don't give sadaqah is either two reasons. One, you're too stingy, or two, you don't value your efforts enough. They think that what they got to contribute is too little bit. Or you may not have anything to give, right? And if you don't have anything to give, then you have other efforts where you put in your sadaqah, right? Your sadaqah may be given by you helping, clean and maintain the masjid, right? Your sadaqah may be given by, smiling, as the Prophet ﷺ said, right? But ultimately, they want to do the same thing that a wealthy person would be able to do, but they don't have they don't have the same assets. So therefore, they do what they can. And there's hadith on this. It starts to mess with you, and you start to feel slightly inferior, right? These things happen. They happen to you. Now, the problem is with us, and I'm talking about 2024 Muslims, we don't aspire to be better than the person. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know that he is the apex of humanity. You're not getting no better than him. But we all aspire to be just like him, or we're supposed to be, except for the 2024 inner city Negro Muslims, right? And when I'm saying Negro Muslim, I'm extending that to the Latinos, the poor whites who live amongst blacks, and everybody. Poor education, everybody's under that umbrella, right? And because they're aspirate, they shoot, but they don't shoot for the stars. There's inconsistency. And we know that Allah Ta'ala will bless some to do things better than others, right? So when you're learning about the Prophet ﷺ's character, do not let this underlying minhaj of being a loser overpower that of taking on the akhlaq the character of Al-Mustafa, the chosen one. Rewind that. Rewind it, right? Take it back. Don't let the behavior, the character, the thinking of a loser be more important and overpower the character, the akhlaq al-Mustafa, the character of the chosen one. Who is the chosen one? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was chosen as that example for humanity. Think about this. So you're supposed to shoot to be like him, and no matter how short you fall. Not know, I ain't pious. I ain't the best Muslim. For real, only Allah can judge me. I ain't doing all that. If you have that mentality, I promise you, and may Allah Ta'ala protect us from this, but you will spend time in the fire, even though you'll get the Jannah. Right? The believer is not supposed to act like that. The mistakes that didn't we just during Jummah, we just talked about the Sahabas. Those was companions that was praying with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They got distracted during the khutbah and ran to chase the caravan, correct? Right? Mm-hmm. But yet still, they still joined back with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? So you will make an error, but the thing is to get better. You're not supposed to live there. You can't stay there. And many of us are too proud and arrogant and happy at having bad character and mental illness. Being happy at bad character in itself is a mental illness. You're supposed to struggle and strive to get better on a daily basis. Who hangs around people that hate someone? Oh, wait. Many people do in 2024. But if you're really trying to excel, guess what? That person that's trying to excel out of that group of losers, they always separate themselves and get with the people that'll make them better. Right? And Allah tells us in the Quran to do what? To encourage each other to righteousness. Right? Ta'awnan. Right? You encourage, take each other, help each other to get the righteousness. So if you got a person that you're doing corruption with, you're disobeying Allah Ta'ala on top of you disobeying Allah Ta'ala. But anyway, I digress. He had the best of morals and the manners, and he had the best physical constitution. His hands were the softest of hands, and he was pleasant smelling of them, right? And the most intelligent and the most precise of them. He was the best of them with regards to companionship and good nature. The most courageous of them, and the one who had the most knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had the most fear of Allah ta'ala. So having the most knowledge of Allah, then that means that what? We should aspire to have a lot of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, correct? Having the most fear of Allah ta'ala, that means that we are supposed to have the most. Why is it? This is also another proof against music. The Quran, when you hear its recitation, it moves the heart, and you're supposed to move the heart to do good, right? Music, when you hear it, which way does it move the heart? In one direction, right? Even if you don't do the things that they're rapping and singing about, right? Even if you just enjoy it, is it not killing time, wasting time? Right? You ever see a person get so caught up in the music or the game or the television to the point that they forget Salat came in? You ever experienced that? That's a real thing, right? Get so caught up into the work that you forget the Salat came in, right? That's a proof against it that you have to have a balance. You can't engage into that stuff to the point because it takes you away from the remembrance of Allah, just like intoxicants do. There ain't really too many people that get intoxicated and still remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Usually that's something that's hitting deep down inside, right? When they get to that point. But anyway, the Prophet ﷺ never became angry for his own personal motives. Neither did he take revenge for personal motives, right? This is one of the things that's hurting the Muslim Ummah to this day. People literally refuse to deal with other people because of something personal, not because of the deen, but because of something personal. You know, I'm still mad at that Negro because he stole Shirley from me back in '65. You know, those type of things, and people still hold on to those type of grudges. We weren't even Muslim. But anyway, and he only becomes angry when the sacred law, when the Sharia is violated, right? And he's violated. And nothing would appease his anger until the truth was helped, right? And he would become angry when he would turn aside and turn his face. Like his anger, he would try not to display it to the people. He would try to turn away, right? And that's usually you. If you get in the habit of practicing that, when y'all get married and those who are married, right? You turn away. If you look at your wife head on while you're angry, you be probably ready to start swinging and striking. Even your children, right? Because sometimes you'll be reprimanding your children, they look at you, and you confuse that look of perplexity, like, what? That you thinking that they trying to be disrespectful, you just ready to like put 1-2 combo to them, you should turn away, right? You should turn away because sometimes that happens. Then a child is not always looking at you like, who you think you talking to? They looking at you like, I, I don't understand. And you just like ready, just smash him, right? Or even the same thing with and a person's look doesn't always. I'm not saying that it don't, but it doesn't always represent what they're feeling internally. Doesn't always represent that. Now, there's one thing I want y'all to pay attention to, and then I'm gonna finish this section, and then we're gonna stop. I think I'm gonna do this one page because this thing's a little long. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never used names for himself like the Great One, the Mighty, right? If you think of, uh, you guys heard of the Roman, his name was Alexander. What was the attribute they gave him? Alexander what? The Great, right? Okay. The Prophet sallallahu never referred to himself as anything other than that. He didn't refer to himself as that, right? Uh, Hercules or Hercules. You heard of him as well, right? What was he known for? His strength, right? Usually, when you want to refer to somebody as being strong, you refer to him as what? Hercules. That's one of the names people. It's like a nickname people give people, right? Busky. Busky, but that's different. When you name yourself after a figure, right? Like there's Muslims that love Genghis Khan, right? Now, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Genghis Khan become Muslim later? Sons did. His sons did. Okay, the Genghis Khan was a big kafir that killed a lot of Muslims. But in history, he's known because he was a savage. He's got to be honest. You got to call it what it is. But oftentimes, we will watch movies like 300 and Troy and all these movies of these Romans, right? And then under the same breath, we'd be like, yeah, these daggone Europeans, the white supremacists, the slave driver, the everything. And then you'd be like, Hercules was a bad boy. And that's how it be, right? Anybody ever watched? I promise you, and I know many people haven't watched it because of the fact that it's in Arabic and a lot of it, in order to understand it, it's subtitled. But you have to either read the book. The book is in English too. It's the life of Umar ibn Khattab. There's some things in there where they smear it. They say that Umar was white when he wasn't. And even in depiction, the character that they had play Umar in the television series, was like a whiter skinned person. But that's neither here nor there, right? That's when you're stuck in that white supremacist mind state that everything that ain't black, I'm not listening to, right? There might be some wisdom in it, but you'll throw the whole thing out because it has a white face, right? Or a lighter face, a pale face, right? It doesn't have no melanin in it. Omar in there, after the death of the Prophet Sallallahu during the Khilafat, the reign of Umar ibn Khattab, they had a battle of Yamama, right? Not your mama. That was the place in your mama, right? Anyway, and the people who directed this joint, they called Khalid ibn Walid. You know what Khalid ibn Walid nickname was? Saifullah, right? If you watched it, I promise you, if you watch this, you will see our eyes are trained to watch television show. Like what you call 300 was a bad movie, right? When I say bad, I'm talking about it was tough, right? What's his name? Unitas, the boy Unitas and all of them in the air and all the sound effects and all that. Or if you watch Justice League, the one done by the what's the crazy boy name? The second dude, I ain't gonna remember his name right now because I'm trying to make a point. But anyway, how they made the fights between Superman and all those heroes were when it flashes with it too. And the punches was crazy and all the effects and all that. Like y'all remember what was it? Black Adam? Yeah. That the fight scenes on that joint was crazy, right? Khalid ibn Walid was even better. They showed Khalid jumped in the air, was like killing man, Kufar, just like shoot, 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 right? Those type of things. This hadith that's mentioned where the Sahabas they were going to fight. I think it was Amr ibn al-As. They were going to fight, and this was they said it was in the, near the Nile River, and the Nile River runs through Egypt, right? From now what is now known as Egypt and Sudan, right? It runs through the top, well, from the bottom to the top, right? And they were going to fight. They came to the edge, and on the other side there was an army, right? My numbers may be off, but I'm just going to throw that out there. Imam Isfahani. I haven't read this story in years, but anyway, there was, let's say, on the side of the Kufar, there were 100,000 soldiers, right? And Muslims fights were always like this. On the side of the Muslims, there was only 25,000, right? So what's the greater number between the two? Between 100,000 and 25,000? 75,000, right? Paying attention, Bones? Remember those numbers, right? The Muslims got to the edge of the water. The general who was leading that army, this is real story. This ain't fake. Because with all of this internet and stuff like that, you'll believe in this kind of stuff. Well, not y'all. People will believe in this kind of stuff with the internet and things like that. You can't see Wi-Fi, can you? But you know it exists, right? It connects a video. Like right now, I'm streaming. It's connecting a video where people all over the world can see this class right now, right? These men came to the edge of the river, that bank of that river, and they looked at the army. So when you're looking at 100,000 people, that's a mid-sized city in America. 100,000 people. That's the population of South Philly. It's about 120, maybe 130,000 people living in South Philly alone, right? 100,000 people. So imagine the entire South Philly is standing right here at the Schuylkill River, and we on the other side of the Schuylkill up here on this side about to cross over to go fight them, and we only 25,000 strong. Now, to the naked eye, does it look like you can defeat 25,000? They're like 3 times the size of your army, correct? No, four times the size of your army, right? The general, he said, has any of you committed any major sins today? And they said, no, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, proceed forward. And the army started walking, and they walked on top of the water. As the Kuffar seen this, the first 25,000 of them, they ran. Right? They looked every side. Oh. Now, don't front. If you see somebody walking across the Schuylkill to come get you, you standing around? Now you're like, yo, whoa, hold on, Cannon. Wait a minute. Wait, bro. Hold on, right? As they proceed, the rest of them standing there in shock, right? Let's say the first 50,000, right? I mean, I'm sorry, first 25,000. What I mentioned was a third. A third of them ran, so that left them with 2/3 left, right? I'm just changing up. I'm giving you an exact number. Let's say 30,000 ran. 30,000 out of 100,000 is how? What is that percentage of the army? 70%. That's 70% that's left behind, but 30% ran, right? The other 30%, 35%, if we break it up in 33s, right? The other 35%, they all took Shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Right? And the last 33% was the only ones that was still standing there to get defeated in the battle. Right? This is a real-time story that was narrated. Sheikh Ahmed Bamba, right? He's known as the Khadam al-Rasul. He's African, West African. He was known, he was captured by the French. He was on a boat. This is the French, European French Kafirs that said this. It's in their books. They thought that they were stumping him because the kuffar, they love to put you in dilemmas that where they love to make you make a choice between yourself and Allah. And this is why I don't understand why Muslims, male and female, don't see it that most of the dilemmas we're in is because we're taking in the kuffar's ideology that they throw out there on the media, right? They love to put us in dilemmas. They love to have you decide on whether it's your hijab or whether it's your Islam, right? Hijab, no hijab. To be gay or no be gay, right? To salat, no salat. They love to throw that kind of stuff out there. So Ahmed Bamba, it was time for salat. They came to him, and they're saying it sarcastically. They didn't believe it. They said, yo, we hear that you are supposed to be this protected friend of Allah. And you don't upset people, nor do you upset your God. Right? So yeah. Well, if you miss your prayer, you're gonna upset your God. And if you pray on this boat, then you're gonna upset us. So what you gonna do here, Sheikh Ahmed Bamba? What's your name, Bamba? Right? What are you gonna do? They said this is their own documented history. The Kufar. They said Sheikh Ahmed Bamba pulled out his musalla, his prayer rug, laid it on top of the water, and made salat. They said when he finished, when he came up out of that last sajda, they said sand fell off of his turban. Because Ahmed Bamba wouldn't even wear the Europeans' clothes. Right? And he gave the salam, he stood back up. They recorded that. That is dead from their record. Right? Matter of fact, current military, they call it what do they call it? Supernatural, superpower, supernatural, superpowered individuals. They got a name for that person that can do things that's against the norm.
That was in the 20th century.
Right, that's in the 20th century. That's in the 1800s,
No,
right?
it was in the early 20th
1600s.
No, it was in the 20th century, after 1900.
Subhanallah. So, but my case in point is, as Muslims, the more we don't know about these events, the more our mind is away from it, and sometimes we feel defeated. Right? So anyway, we'll continue on. I'll finish the end of this page and then we'll stop, inshallah. So they said the mannerisms that the Prophet ﷺ, his manners was the Quran. He was the most humble of people. And that was the other thing I was mentioning about the Prophet ﷺ. One of his attributes is known for, he was rahmatul lil alameen, right? He's the mercy of mankind. That even during war, you're still supposed to show mercy. You can't cut down trees. You don't kill women. You don't kill children. You don't fight against anybody that ain't fighting against you, right? When you conquer the land, you allow the Christians to still practice their religion, but they have to pay taxes. You allow the Jews to still practice their religion, but they have to pay taxes, right? It's not no dominant thing like you see today. What they call it, fascism. That's going on. If you're not a fascist, if you don't take what the status quo is saying, they label you a cult. They label you to be anti or rebellious to the power that people that's in power, and so on and so forth, right? And that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, he said he will fulfill the needs and the requirements of his family, and he will lower his wing and have mercy to people that were weak, right? He will lower his wing, have mercy. What does that mean, to lower your wing and have mercy to people?
Like what is it called?
Chivalry.
Uh, so leniency.
Leniency. What you think? What you think it mean to lower your wing and have mercy on people? Hmm? Would you fight an old man? Why not? Because what? You're younger than him, so that's respect, right? But what if he tried? What if he? What? How would you? Let's say your brother was trying to attack you. How do you fight with your brother? You gonna fight your brother? Okay. You are fighting him. Are you fighting him like you would fight somebody outside the streets? How you fighting him then? Huh? With slaps. So what's the alternative to slaps? So you gonna slap him instead of punch him? That kid is crazy. The right thing to do is to basically have him calm down. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to fight your brother. Okay. Slapping him, I guess, in some people's eyes, it would be considered less less aggressive than punching on him, right?
Slapping is less compassionate than punching someone.
But anyway, you have
Hey,
mercy on the weak. What about a person who has an intellectual disability? Well, a person he might be autistic or Asperger's or something like that. You gonna make fun of that person? That's showing mercy, right? What happens when you're married to a woman for a long time and she's not as beautiful as she was when you first married her? Back when y'all were 19 years old. Now here it is. She's 48, and she all old and hair white, and she ain't looking good. What did you say? That's bae. Alhamdulillah. Because Allah Ta'ala, guess what? That's beautiful. Because Allah says in the Quran about Him creating us, right? Because marriage is a ayah, it's a sign of Allah Ta'ala, right? Allah created that and He placed in the hearts love, right? Wadda, because that's how it starts. So, oh, I love you, baby, baby, baby. Wa rahma. When that mercy comes in, when your children are, like basically got you as their personal chauffeur and calling for Ubers every day, you want to leave them stranded in the West Nile River somewhere, but that rahma kicks in, that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kicks in, right? And what happens? You go ahead and call that Uber for them. I'm talking about all y'all. Right? You show that mercy, right? When you disrespectful to your mother and your mother still take care of you. Ain't that right, brothers? Right? That's rahmah on behalf of your mother. Because Allah Ta'ala could annihilate you for that. Because the status of the parent over the
I
child.
would have said he throwing each other under the bus, huh?
These dudes ain't got no picks. They ain't got no mercy with each other. They should be hiding each other, but instead they're like, that's you, huh? That's you. That's you, right? But however, that mercy, Allah annihilates you. Look at Allah Ta'ala's mercy, right? Allah Ta'ala, people are out here worshiping other than Allah. People are out here saying that Allah made a mistake. That he was supposed that the he was actually supposed to be the she, but instead he was born a he. But you can ignore your private parts of he, and even though you ain't got the she private parts, but you can still be she. Did y'all understand that Rubik's cube of a mess that I just said?
We in the 24.
2024, a man can claim to be a woman. That's disrespectful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you're saying that your Lord made a mistake. Right? Oh man, we gotta get ready to wrap it up. You done made the church fan. Look, mama.
Condition to believe lies.
He done made the church fan, huh?
I ain't gonna do nothing to make it hard.
It is. Fact.
Need some justice.
So anyway, so he showed mercy to the weak. He never asked for anything that which reply would be in a negative, right? He knew what to ask for and he knew what not to. Y'all need to learn something from the Prophet something, right? You gotta know when to put a limitation. Don't always expect, right? That's the opposite. When you ain't got no limits to your asking. He was the most forbearing of people, meaning it took time for him, to get mad, right? Unlike my good brother that said he slapped his brother instead of punching on him. That's a small molecule size of forbearance. But the best forbearance is you need to fear Allah, man. Yo, don't make me do this to you. Go sit down somewhere, right? Try to defuse the problem, non-violently. He had the greatest sense of modesty. He wasn't out here trying to wear booty shorts, so that, hoochie daddy shorts, so his crotch is showing and the girls can see his buns, his cakes and stuff like that. like men are today. Men wearing tight shirts so they can see, so women can see your pecs. Especially when you work out. You ever notice when you start losing weight how tight your clothes are? We be talking about women, but dudes do the same exact thing, right? I remember back in the day, the clip bars used to be entertaining to some degree.
So then why my clothes look baggy when I start losing weight?
Because you lose the weight.
Right?
You got to go down a couple sizes and wear some tight joints.
I ain't coming down a couple sizes.
But that's why they put those clothes on. There's no need for for people to get naked in order to work out. Or people do it, right? Anyway, he had shame. He was more shyer than a virgin when he was secluded in private.
Nico,
Right?
pay attention.
He was more shyer, right? Because a shy woman that's not experienced with men, she showed there's a certain shyness to her. Unlike today and what society is encouraging, girls, show them toes, get them pretty toes, right? That's why women put on all those wild toenail polishes and stuff like that. Me, I don't even like that joint, even when women be on their mints. This is like an American thing, right? When you're on your mints, it's not haram just to pinch your toes when you're on your mints. But everybody know you're on your mints, especially if you're not praying, right? Usually when the woman's absence, you know, would actually mean something. But now we want to take our stuff outside the home. Most women get dressed better to go outside the home than they are in the house. And this is why most marriages are miserable.
Then they got the fake
You know,
polish.
that stuff ain't, it's only waterproof. I mean, it's only breathable for like a day or two. The study's already shown it. It's only breathable. That stuff that they call the voodoo polish, it's only good for like a day or two. So it's really just wasting their time. You know what I mean? But they do all of these things to beautify themselves, but they don't even realize it's subconscious. They've been doing it so long, they want to make themselves look so good outside, right? And then when their husband's not attracted to them, when you walk outside the door, the women are dressed to impress because they tired of going home lonely, right? But meanwhile, while you're married to your believing wife, the only thing she got is an attitude, hair all over the place. She forgot to put on deodorant in there, smelling like India Irie. You know what I'm saying? House a mess, and an attitude, a funky attitude. I smell like I'm like, nah. Like, damn. Right? While you just left Islamic place, I said, Alaikum salam, habibi. Right? Even though she's trying to get all your money or she's trying to get you as a husband. Right? But the bottom line is you get better salams from outside the home. And the same thing with the men. Right? Ibn Abbas is the one who said it. They asked Ibn Abbas, they're like, yo, Ibn Abbas, what's up with you, man? Why you get all dressed up? He's like, man, I get dressed up for my wife. I'm about to go in the house. Right? Our women come outside to look like a hot mess. And we go in the house and we be funky, stinking, getting in the bed. Baby, listen, man, I've been lifting bricks all day. My balls is hot. You know what I'm saying? Just get my food and shut up. You know what? You understand? No, man. The Prophet wasn't like this. Y'all laughing. Yo, me and y'all are growing to be adults. And you're going to see. It's a joke now, but I promise you, when you get older, you're going to remember this day. You're going to be like, yo, we was told about this was coming. Right? So, but anyway, he never criticized food if he desired it. So if you made something that he didn't like, he wouldn't say nothing about it. He would just not eat it. Right? Now don't fall for the trap, brothers. There's permissibility in lying. When your wife cooks some nasty food, it's always good. Trust me when I tell you, it's a sunnah. Right? Don't fall for that lie when your wife be like, you can tell me, babe. That's the biggest lie I've seen over the last 40-something years of my life. Women be like, you can tell me. I ain't gonna get mad. My mother used to say that. I ain't gonna hit you. Go ahead and tell me. I ain't gonna hit you, I promise, right? You get married, you get a relationship, you get married. It's I ain't gonna be mad. You can tell me. Then you tell them the truth. She ain't talking to you now. Now she want to call out. We need to go to the imam. I need to talk to your wakil. Right? Now everything is, we need to talk now. Right? Promise you, brothers. If her food is nasty, just get pepper. Pepper make everything taste good or some hot sauce. Anyway, So he never criticized food. He ate it, or if not, he just left it alone. He would not eat while laying down, and it has medical benefits of not eating laying down. A person who's always like burping, has GERD, always got acid reflux. A lot of times, sometimes when we sit in chairs, we're hunched over, or but when you're sitting on the floor and your food is right in front of you, you're eating, right? So therefore, the airway is good. Sometimes the other problem is that we eat too much food and we block off the airway and we put too much drink in there. You eat 2 plates and 24 ounces of juice. You have to unbuckle your pants when you stand up, right? Now you getting up, you farting, you stand up. Right? After food, what most people do? Fall asleep, right? But the Prophet sallallahu, he wasn't known for that type of behavior. That he didn't have that kind of character. He would eat what was easy and readily available. He didn't always make his wife go out the way to get caviar. Sometimes be like, babe, it's cool. I ain't saying that you always got to eat peanut butter and jelly, but I'm just saying ain't nothing wrong with every once in a while eating a grilled cheese sandwich, right? You better off having a wife. I said, babe, I done made you something. I'm like, nah, I just want a grilled cheese. And she's happy to make you that grilled cheese, but she's mad that you didn't want nothing else because oftentimes, sometimes you can always tell how your wife feel about you by the way she cooks for you. If she angry with you, I don't really recommend you eat her food right away, unless she has that real loving character. It's not going to taste good. It's not that you fear that she's going to do something to you. Some women will, but not that you fear she's doing something to you. But it ain't going to taste good. It ain't going to have no barakah in it. Yeah, it's anybody I've been married to. I ain't eating your food while you upset. I'm cool. Most of the time, I don't even be there long enough for dinner to be served. I just go to the match. I'm out. I'm going outside. Right? What's my blood pressure? Right. Oh yeah, that's right. You got diabetes. A little extra sugar in that joint. Those type of things. Don't eat it. All right. So anyway, they said he used to love sweets. He used to love honey. Right. And cheese used to please him. And he would say, he Sallallahu used to say, there's excellence in vinegar, right? Now, vinegar today's equivalent is like an Italian dressing, a vinegary type dressing. The Prophet said something like vinegar. That's a lot of times that's the kind of dressing that I know I like using it. I don't really like all the creamy stuff. I eat it, but I like pause. I like I like the Italian Italian dressing and stuff like that, vinaigrette of some sort. So anyway, he said. And he also mentioned about the Prophet ﷺ. He said the superiority of Aisha over all of the women is like the superiority of the bread, this particular meal dish called tharid, right? A mixture of bread, it has meat in it, pause, and broth, right? He liked that over all other food. So think of a dish like something equivalent to it, but it's not broth, but it's something similar to it. Meatball parmesan, right? You have the meatballs with the tomato sauce, right, on the bread. Or you might have curry with the bread, stuff like we usually eat, stuff like that. But it's not exactly what this is, but this is sufficient. So with that, inshallah, we'll stop there. So remember that part. Next part we'll mention. I got a bookmark, but it'll be talking about his favorite part of eating lamb, and we'll go into that inshallah. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Again, we're gonna go eat out tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Huh?